What is up? Welcome back to another episode of the Girl Gains podcast. I'm Amber P.
I'm Alexis Nicole.
Alexis is 3 weeks out.
Yeah, like two and a half.
Two and
We're
a half
getting
weeks
close.
out. I
Yeah.
know. Ooh. I'm
Well, hang
excited.
on. 1, 2, 3. No, 3.5.
Okay. I was like, oh snap. Because if it's 2.5, then shoot. We feeling
Amber
good.
comes to me in 5 days.
I'm so excited. I can't wait. We'll get a little content for y'all while we're together. It's always like I feel like it's hard when we're together to get content because it's always like a schedule or something to do.
Yeah, it's just like it's always short time. But
Yeah,
this time's a little bit more. Like you land early Monday and then you leave in the afternoon on Wednesday.
we got more wiggle room there. I'm excited. So I have been thinking about Alexis's Arnold glam probably for about a month solid now. So I'm super, super hype. We're gonna test out a hairstyle when I'm there too. We're not gonna show you because
Oh,
if it
yeah, I
works,
forgot about that.
yeah, yeah, if it works, I want it to be a surprise. But I found a hairstyle one day because I mean, me being bored, can't sleep. I think about other people's hair and makeup. I'm like, oh, this would be fun. So I'm excited to see it all come together.
Yes, me too.
And you're looking good. You're looking good.
Thank you. My face is coming in.
Uh huh. For sure. For sure. All
Oh,
right. So
and also my armpits are coming in. So I pushed back the pot a little bit this morning so I could shower and shave and wash my hair. Um, and there's definitely some hairs in my armpit that I missed because I couldn't like when you're lean and you have the crevices in your armpit and then you're like moving the skin around to try to get it, and I can't get one area. So
coming in hot.
yeah, but I'm not biting my ego yet to let Martin do it because I don't. That makes me feel less like a lady.
No, I feel you. There's just some things I'm like, nah, I'm good. Not doing it.
Maybe Chloe can do it.
Someone will help you out. All right, y'all. So we decided that we're going to kick it old school. Not really old school, but just it's important to go back and talk about some of these beginner topics. I mean, it's healthy for me as well, but obviously our goal is to help you all on your journeys, especially the newcomers. So today we're going to talk about pros and cons of bodybuilding and should you do your first prep. I, choosing my words wisely. Go ahead.
um, I got the notes pulled up because your girl's brain is about half an egg shy of a half pack.
It's okay.
Um, so I think there's a lot of pros. Um, the most general being that you can, if you fulfill your prep, do all the things you're supposed to do, it's very difficult and it's very challenging. Um, and in that, you learn a lot about yourself along the way. The areas that you struggle with, that's different for everyone. The areas that you're strong in, that you might not have known you could be strong in. The areas you thought you were really skilled at, that you end up having the hardest time with. And you kind of learn, for a lot of people, you learn like you can push past boundaries that you didn't know that you could, or that you didn't even know existed. Um, and of course, like if you do all of that, no matter how you place on stage, it's typically rewarding. Um, I had one client last season that competed for her first time. It was a long time getting to the stage. We finally got there. She was conditioned. She did the things she was supposed to, crossed all her T's, dotted all of her I's, had an amazing time, got up on stage and was like, Alexis, I hate the stage. Like, my heart was broken for her because she was so excited, and she had some coaches in the past that didn't have the most ideal approach for her, especially. And things didn't, a lot of promises were made that weren't kept. And it'd been something she'd been working for a long time. So it was very exciting. And she's like sending me all of these pictures of like check-ins and backstage and stuff, and she's so happy. And then she's like, I hated the judging part, like the act of being on stage and being like, and you don't know until you get up there. Like, you don't know. So it could be a con that what you expect it to be isn't what you end up experiencing. Um, but I think the purpose of this podcast is to go over the pros and cons, um, because there are positives and negatives to everything, but it's important to know the cons before you dive fully in. And I think we've gone over this in the past, but we have more experience. We are older and wiser now. And we've gotten more messages on our DMs. So that's a lot of what prompts these topics.
For sure, for sure. So let's start off with who shouldn't prep. And this isn't saying like you shouldn't prep ever. It could just be like, hold on, maybe there's some other things you need to have in order first. Because again, like Alexis, the experience her client had, there are some things you're not going to know until you get there, right? And so she did it and she realized, hey, this ain't for me. That's okay. It's not going to be for everybody, and that's fine, but you can still live the lifestyle. You can still live the lifestyle, just not go all the way to the extreme. So if you're under eating or binging weekly, you shouldn't prep yet. There are just some things that you need to work on. I don't have any history when it comes to binging, under eating, eating disorders. I know there's a lot of athletes that are pros and that's been their experience. And I just always say when it comes to something as serious as, a history of an eating disorder, I just personally feel like you have to do like a real true deep dive of yourself and be honest with, can I handle this?
Yeah, I have an old teammate and still a really close friend who um, she competed once and she knew what she was getting into. She, like, all of us around her competed. We told her, all the things. She saw the ins and outs. She came to multiple shows before prepping or anything like that. Um, and she had a history of anorexia, like was hospitalized when she was younger, um, and had to go through the counseling and like coping mechanisms and learning behavior traits to combat the negative behavior that's associated with that. And so she went through prep, and like her experience afterwards was very interesting because um, I would say, as a whole, if you have a history of an eating disorder, you should not try to compete. We don't say a lot of black and white statements on this podcast, but I would say that's a general good concern. Um, and if you do, go in with extreme caution and know what your hard stop boundary is going to be. And if you reach that, stop. Like, set the boundary. And if you reach that boundary, then that's it. Um, and for each person with that's battled those disorders, it's going to be different as far as like the severity and how long you've been in recovery and all of that. But for her, like anorexia, for example, is severe restriction. You can have multiple disorders that can include like severe restriction, then binging, then severe restriction again. For her, it was like restriction. So the prepping part, the meals was not an issue. It was almost like a skill in her back pocket that she could pull back out. Being meticulous, measuring everything to the gram, never 0.1 grams over. But after all was said and done, she's reversing and stuff. She's like, in my opinion, you're giving yourself an eating disorder. Like, I don't think that's true for those who aren't prone. Um, but if it's something you've already dealt with, it's going to come back up because you to get lean for stage, you are expected and required to meticulously count every calorie, every gram of rice, like literally everything. I'm not exaggerating. That is what's necessary. Um, so she did one prep, she didn't do it again. And that's reasonable.
Absolutely.
For others, you might not have that background at all, but you may have the underlying trait that is pulled out with the extremity of what is required to get to stage lean. Um, and if that's for you, you need to stay aware of what those signs are, recognize what you're doing. If you're constantly not able to stay on plan, that's a red flag. It could be just a discipline issue, but it's oftentimes there's an underlying issue larger than I just want snacks.
For sure. And you also have to be careful as well, because I mean, I've seen it with a lot of athletes. I've unfortunately seen it with more pros, but if this is something that you've had in the past, don't utilize bodybuilding as a way to maintain your disordered eating. I was
Yeah,
speaking with an athlete one time and we're close. So I was able to just like gently point it out to her. And she told me, oh no, like I'm done competing. Like she told me she was done competing, I don't know, 3 months ago. And then I saw her, I was doing her hair and she still looked very much so like 3 weeks out. And so I was listening to her and I said, hey, we're not competing, right? She's like, no, no. And I just said, how's the food going? And she kind of looked at me. And that was my way of saying, I see you. Now you know I see you and you need to eat some food. And immediately she just said, okay, yeah, yeah, I need to. So don't, again, sometimes you might not even realize that you're utilizing it in that way to maintain those disordered eating habits, but just stuff you got to be aware of. But if you don't have basic habits, all right, so the most popular episode that we've ever had was one of our first ones, the prep before the prep, okay? So this is going to go towards the are you ready to prep? If you aren't able to hit the steps, the sleep, the protein, the water, if you're not able to manage that, prepping is not going to be fun. It's just not.
yeah, and really you don't have any business doing it. Prep is just a more extreme version of that. In an improvement season or an off season, there typically is a little room for flexibility. It's a Tuesday, and your friend that's in town that you haven't seen for a while invited you out to lunch. You can order something that's close ish to your meal plan without bringing a scale, and it's probably going to be fine. That is not an option in a prep. Um, you're traveling. This is a very popular question. And I reposted a post that someone posted that was like, quotes, I'm traveling this week. What should I eat? Whether you're in San Francisco or Mexico, it should be what your program is. Like, it's a
What you want
very
to eat?
simple question,
Yeah.
especially in prep. So, like the differences of that situation in off season versus prep. Off season, maybe just take your day's worth of meals, maybe a little extra protein in your bag, and then you can figure out where am I getting my chicken from, where am I getting my fish from, whatever when you get there. In prep, you guys have seen it on our YouTubes. We're taking a couple days worth, especially if we're going to a different country that we're not familiar with and they got different stuff there. I didn't know that till I went, and I'm glad that I took extra of what I had because they don't have ground turkey in Prague. Where are they
Oh,
going to have turkeys there? They don't
oh,
have turkeys.
girl. I forgot about that. Oh, man. Ooh.
And like Portugal eats mostly fish. So like you can get steak, but it's crazy expensive because they're not raising cows there. So it's coming from another country and it's imported. So those things, like if you're going somewhere and you're not sure when you'll have time, land at a weird time, you have appointments or whatever, take it with you. Check an extra bag if you have to. That the sport is expensive, and that is what we talk about with expenses. Um, you, if you've seen our YouTubes, me and Martin's, you see that we travel with a lot of bags. It's because we take all the stuff that we need. Um, we don't pack minimally to save $50 on a checked bag, and then you get there and you're trying like one. If you're nickel and diming, you do not need to be doing a show. Um, but it's going to cause more stress and more room for error if you're not prepared. So prepare. And that includes creating the habits. I've had multiple clients that could tell you that I'm like, okay, you keep talking about a show. I need 6 weeks of complete adherence to the current program. We can't be jumping into a prep when you are getting 2 liters of water in a day. Like the water is not an option either. Like,
Mhm, mhm. For yeah, the especially for me, like obviously y'all know if I'm in prep and I'm traveling, I too have a lot of bags because work and prep, and it can be quite daunting. But Murillo actually okayed. He's going to come on my YouTube channel with me, and he's going to walk y'all through how he not only like preps my food but like packages it because I've posted it sometimes and people are like, "Wait, what is he doing?" He and it works for me. He'll just do the oh my god, why am I losing my words?
maybe Amber's prepping too.
You never know. I definitely don't look like I'm prepping. My face is huge. He puts it in the bags and then we can freeze it. Anywho, he said that he's going to walk y'all through that because we just feel it could be very helpful. And so sometimes it feels like, oh, these extra tedious steps are a pain. But let me tell you something. Every time he's done it for me, and I get my little self wherever I am, and I cut that bag open, and I have every single thing that I need plus some, I'm like, okay, yeah, it's going to make your life way easier. So it's just one of those things where this is part of the process.
Yeah, or the flight is longer than you expected. You get stuck on the tarmac for 2 hours because of whatever reason is the situation at the airport, because airports are not predictable. Um, you got your stuff. You're not fumbling to find a pack of nuts at the airport and in your terminal for some reason all they got is Chick-fil-A and like you're not playing the game.
That is one thing that will send me over the edge. I don't know if I've ever shared that. That stresses me out.
I have done it a few times where it's like we're traveling home, I'm a few carbs short, I'm like I'll grab a bagel at the airport
Yeah.
and then there's no bagel in sight. Like that's all they serve at the freaking airport is carbs.
Yes, literally.
And then there's none. There's only like sandwiches and
Yeah.
salads with cheese and crap on it. Like, it's never convenient when you need it to be convenient. So make it convenient for yourself ahead of time. Do the extra work.
Absolutely. You can't afford the real cost. So, coach, food, suit, hair, makeup, travel, these are things that you need. Okay. Can there be some workarounds when it comes to doing your own hair? Absolutely. I feel like for the most part, every girl can do their own hair. And it might be a little dicey for you if you need to put clip-ins in and you've never done that before. Easy peasy
Yeah.
to learn. But
In those situations, like I've done my hair many times. If Amber's not there, I don't want anyone just tweezing my hair because it just becomes a big frizz ball. So I'd rather it be flat and clean
mhm,
than try to make it fancy and not look good. So
true.
like there's ways to simplify it if you're traveling by yourself. Be outgoing on Instagram, find a buddy, room with them, split the cost of the hotel room.
Mhm.
There are ways that you can do it. Um, but y'all, please don't. Okay, the first time I went to the Arnold, I drove because I lived in Virginia. It was like a 5 hour drive. So that saved money until I got to the hotel and realized that it was valet only and spent a lot of dollars in valet for my car. It was still cheaper than an airport. Um, didn't consider so the Arnold pays for your hotel, but when you get there, you use your own card for the incidentals. They give the money back as long as you don't trash the room, not a big deal. Except now there's like a $400 charge on my card, and I got $550. So now you don't have any money for any situation that comes up. Don't do that, y'all, because I can tell you it's very stressful. It's not worth it. Um, so a lot of these scenarios we're telling you guys about, it's because we've done it, we've been there, we lived it, or we saw a close friend do it and it was a bad idea.
Absolutely. Or even if it's your first season competing, I get it. I understand when we're trying to book like hotels and Airbnbs, you find something that's a little bit cheaper. Okay, cool. But here's what you have to also ask yourself. You're not used to the travel and all the things and understanding how shows run, right? So, yeah, something might be cheaper, but if it's further out, that might end up being more stressful, especially when you are not familiar with shows, the speeds, and how they run. So always make sure you might have to spend a little bit of money if you don't want to do the host hotel. Okay, cool, I get it. But understand if you're in like a city, you might be spending a little bit more money with the Airbnb and you need to be okay with that because being 30 minutes out is just, you're not saving money, you're just stressing yourself out.
Yeah, especially with travel time back and forth. If between prejudging and finals is tight, then you end up just having to sit around, find somewhere to sit and hang out. I've done that. Not ideal. Um, if there's areas to save and like you don't have to splurge on every
No.
crook and cranny, but if you're trying to save in every area, it's not the time to do it. And if that is your personality anyway, I know people who have plenty of money, they just don't like to spend it.
Yes.
Um, if it's gonna if it's gonna cause you immense stress to spend the money to do a show, maybe don't do it. Like, it's probably not valuable to you enough, especially in that case, um, because you'll pay your car payment, you'll buy the food and stuff. But if you if you're trying to save on a suit, for example, buying a used suit that's not for you, that's not fit to your physique. A lot of people don't take that into consideration. They're like, found this suit, and then it's for implants, and you don't have implants. Like you can do that. You can buy a used suit if it's a similar physique shape. Um, but like it's gotta be a very good scenario. But if you're saving in every area, you're buying a used suit, you're doing your own makeup, you're doing your own tan and your pasty white. No ma'am.
It's it's gonna look like you're trying to save. You feel me?
Yeah. So like let me just put a disclaimer on. We have done the pod on how to save money,
Mhm.
but they're ideas. They're not intended for you to jot every saving option down and do all of them because it's not going to come together as a complete package and as compared to someone who didn't save in all of the areas. And that's just the truth.
Yep, absolutely. All right. So, a couple of pros beyond getting lean. So, discipline and structure. This is my favorite thing about prep. I think it is a pro because I'm a firm believer of how you do one thing's how you do everything. I am very much so type A. I am organized. So for me, leaning into prep, getting into bodybuilding, and then especially, I know I didn't realize this was also a thing that helped me, but because I was already a hairstylist running my own business, that's structure, that's scheduling, that's timing. That helped me. And two things can happen. If you're not good at it, you're going to get good at it, or you're not going to have a good time. You're going to struggle. That's just the way it's going to go.
Yeah. I think another pro of that is like for some reason, and this is true for brand new competitors too, the people around you who don't understand bodybuilding, when you say, I'm in a prep for a show, this is what's expected of me, I have to do XYZ, it lasts this amount of time, they're completely accepting of it. They're like, oh, you have to do cardio in the morning? Okay, that's fine. We can meet at 12 or whatever. Like, people are like, yeah, you're like cheering you on, woohoo, you're gonna win, blah, blah, blah. As soon as the show's over, they're like, completely expect you to go back to normal life. And that is not bodybuilding. Especially if you're show lean. If you try to go back to normal bodybuilding, you will not be happy a weekend. You will hate your physique because even if you reverse well, you usually don't like it because as soon as the lines start fading, it's like I'm fat, and it just gives you a different view of food and um, your body. Um, which can be good and bad. There's and bads to it. You understand nutrient intake. You understand what's included in different foods. You can make an informed decision of like, do I want to eat this or am I going to feel crappy after? You learn how your body responds to things. what foods your body likes, what foods make you feel icky. And all of that is very great. But a con is that it can slide downhill, or you can kind of feel isolated. I have a client that's like this right now. That's like, I'm trying to find friends that are understanding of my choices or interested in the same things as what I'm doing. Like, y'all, if you didn't live in a bodybuilding household your whole life, you have people that don't know what the heck you're doing. They think you're crazy. They think it's extreme. They don't understand it. And if that's all that you have around you, and now you made this complete flip and you're like, I'm tracking everything, I'm doing these things for myself, a lot of people see it as they're being selfish. And for some reason in America, especially going to dinner or going to a meal with people, it's like offensive if you don't order, even though it literally has nothing to do with them. Like,
Can't tell you how many times at work or something, like, oh, you're not going to eat that? No. Oh, well, what's wrong? I'm like, how is me not eating something hurting you? If
yeah,
you want
and
to
I
eat, I don't care. I'm not here to police you eating your pizza or your donut. Please eat it. I'm not bothered.
yeah, and I know majority of you have experienced that in some way or some shape. But if you're the only one in your circle that makes is like, I want to try doing this, be aware that people are going to be like shocked or confused or like not take it seriously because they have no comprehension of what's involved in it. And you can't really tell them because you're just now learning it for yourself too. Um, that is why it's important to make friends within the sport who at least can relate, even if they don't have the same opinion or the same experience. They can like say, oh yeah, I've heard that, or whatever. They know that it happens. Um, and like slowly make contacts of like, this person has experienced the same thing, and like that's how you make friends, and that's what creates friendships, is having something in common with someone. um but your relationships will likely change, um especially if you love bodybuilding, you love the lifestyle, you do your first show, you want to do another one a year later. Now you have a year of adapting to those different traits long term, rather than jumping into a prep, doing a show. Okay, we're 16 weeks in, we've done it, now it's normal. That's not true for most people. Um, and so the way that you navigate friendships, especially, is likely to change. You might not be doing coffee with your girlfriends every day or every Saturday or whatever. Or the coffee that you get is not probably going to be the creme brulee latte, you know? Um, and it's not bad that things change, because things change in life always, but trying to resist change, I guess, is what will give you the most negatives rather than positives in the sport.
For sure. For sure. It's always daunting to people at first, but I found that the people that tend to get it quicker, especially if they're not within the sport, are people who have big goals in life. That's just what it is. It's just kind of like, hey, sometimes some people are just losers and they're just not going to get it. And that's okay. Anyone who has a goal of whatever it is, it's like, I might not understand something that someone's working on at a huge company, but I understand goals. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah,
you can't
yeah, that's
expect
a very good point.
everyone. Yeah, it's just kind of like, if anyone has ever had a big goal in life, 9 times out of 10, they're gonna be like, "Yeah, girl, go after it, get after it." But
Yeah,
that's another positive con, and one of my favorite things about this is the community. That's how Alexis and I became friends through the community. Like, especially with my experience coming from the beauty industry, the beauty industry ain't nice. Okay, I had I had a time. It's just people just aren't nice. And so I was very hesitant when I started getting into the bodybuilding industry. And anyone that was in it that I asked a question about or said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, every single person, male and female, were kind. They were happy to help, and they were encouraging. By far, like, people can talk junk about bodybuilding. You're always going to have those pricks. I will preach this till there's no more breath in my lungs. This is one of the best things that's ever happened to me, and it's because the community has been amazing.
yes, and I agree. Um, there may be events that you miss out on as far as enjoying the snacks, or it doesn't fit into the timeline for that day, um, the best time for you to train during the day is 1 p.m. and you're 3 weeks out, and it's going to stress you more to move things around than to attend whatever the thing is. So, which one's important to you? Like,
Mhm.
ultimately, it's going to come down to that sometimes. If you're prepping for nationals, you probably don't get to eat Thanksgiving. So it's important to take those things into consideration. So like with my clients, I'll say, what does your life schedule look like for this time period? If you're going on a wedding cruise 2 weeks out, let's not pick that show. you
I had
know?
someone ask me, it's like, "Oh, okay." This is like maybe last summer. She's like, "Well, I want to go on a cruise, so how do we work this into prep?" And I said,
You
"Well,
best
there's
get
no."
the biggest food package. I've never been on a cruise, so I don't even know exactly how it works.
Yeah, I just
But
told her. I said, "There's no working it in. Either you're on prep or you're not." Like,
yeah, you take your food with you. You make sure
yeah,
ahead of time that there's grilled chicken. Like,
business as usual. Like
yeah,
that's just what
a
it
lot
is
of
now.
protein powder, maybe? I don't know. It's
I don't know.
definitely not ideal to be
No,
stuck on a boat
no.
for 7 days.
Yeah, no. Absolutely not. So you because I think that's the thing too, what sometimes people fail to forget, like when it does start to get hard or they have to make decisions, it's like no one's making you do this. You
Yeah,
decided you wanted to do it, you know? So is it important to you? Do you want to follow through? Do you want to finish well? Like that's up
yeah,
to
and
you.
I've had a client who had not a wedding cruise, but I've had them say, like, "I I have a wedding on this date. It's a destination wedding. Um, my concern for prepping during this time is I don't want to make the trip about me. I'm a bridesmaid, I'm a maids of honor, whatever. That's reasonable. So we choose a different time frame. Like sometimes that does come into the equation, and whether we like it or not, sometimes us not eating at whatever the thing is offends the family and like makes a big whole blow up, and you're the worst person that night and whatever. Sometimes we just want to avoid that drama. Um, I get that. I've been there. I'm like, I don't want to prep around then because if I don't do this with my aunt, it's going to hurt her feelings. I don't think it should hurt her feelings, but it does. So I'm just going to shift.
Hmm.
And that's what comes with like one, someone giving you good advice. Hopefully your coach is guiding you.
Yeah.
Um, and two, what's important to you and the experience within the sport. So like with my girls, I tell them no question is a stupid question. Sometimes the questions that I get, I'm like, you couldn't figure this out? No, they couldn't figure it out. That's why they asked
That's
it.
what I asked.
Like I don't say
Yeah.
that back to them. It's there's a fine line of I think some people who give advice, and I try not for us to do this on this podcast. Some people give advice like it almost is like talking down to you,
Yes.
or
I don't like that.
is like you couldn't research that on your own.
Condescending. I don't like that.
Yeah, it's like me asking the question was part of the research, is how I see it. Like,
Hmm.
you knew this person probably had an answer. It's an educated answer from their experience rather than whatever Google says. So, like, yeah, it's reasonable to ask questions. Um,
And they trust you enough to ask because
yeah,
they're paying you to answer the question,
you are the
doofus.
source. Yeah. So like ask your questions. Sometimes those questions are like, am I going too far here? Is this still appropriate for me? The answer might be no, it's not appropriate. Yes, you're going too far. And then from there, you have to pivot. Sometimes you're going to get answers that you don't like, but it's you rather have those answers than to be doing something wrong or doing something that's detrimental more than beneficial. Um, every large goal comes with some amount of risk or some amount of um, sacrifice.
Yep.
And if you're not willing to give the risk, you're not willing to give the sacrifice, then it's not a goal that you actually want to reach.
Period. That's it. That's it. Another con that we can't look over. Listen, I'm so sick of people thinking because they are natural competitors that they are holier than thou. No one cares. I
Except you.
get it.
You
Except
care.
you.
And that's why you're
And
doing
that's fine. And that's fine. Like, trust me, I get it and I respect it. I don't care if someone's natural. I don't care if someone's assisted. It does not bother me. But the reason why I led with that is because regardless, your hormones gonna get jacked. That is a con. Your hormones, your cycle, your sleep,
it.
mood changes,
Especially
all
as
of
a
those
female.
things, especially as females. There's nothing that we can do about these things. They happen to all female athletes, natural or assisted. And it's a pain, man. It is a pain when you
Yeah,
want to sleep and you cannot sleep. It is
that's where
not
I'm at.
it is not fun. The mood changes. It is not fun when like a lot of people, hunger, obviously, yes, but we've talked about it before. Alexis and I, like, we have our moments like, dang, I'm hungry, but we're past it. Oh my God, I'm so hungry. Where it's just at the front of your mind. The hardest part is when your energy just leaves your body and there's nothing you can do about
And you still got to do things. So you
it. And
got to figure out how to get it done. Um,
it's hard.
Through bodybuilding as a whole, you learn a lot of healthy habits. Prepping is not healthy. If there's a coach that's telling you that we're going to prep in a healthy way, that is misleading. Um, you can put health first, but it's not healthy. When you are stage lean, if you are actually stage lean, assisted or not, you are not in a healthy state, especially as a woman. You are not supposed to be that lean. That is why you lose your cycle. Like,
Hmm. I
some
hate it.
bodies are more resistant than others, some bodies are more adaptive than others. Your hormone system is going to assist in different ways. So that is why some people will still have a period going into a show. They can function hormonally at a much lower body fat percentage. But a large majority of female competitors lose their cycle at some point, whether it's you lose the last one right before going into show. Um, the schedule becomes off when you start ramping cardio up and dropping calories. Um, it's going to happen. So once your hormones are off, you're not healthy.
Hmm.
Once you are more muscle mass than body fat, you're not healthy. You have nothing to pull from. And that's why your body starts like trying to pull back. And a lot of people have to really grind into the ground towards the end. It's not a natural state to be in, which is why the reverse is so important. Um, so as your hormones come off, your moods will be a little bit less consistent. Some people become more emotional. Some people become more dry. I tend to get much less of a filter, um,
No.
which then Martin just
Oh, both of
giggled.
us. Both me and Martin, like, really? Oh, is that right? Tell us more.
I gave Amber a prep update this morning and said I might get sassy. And when I'm sassy, then I get quiet and people are like, she's in a mood, which I am, but I'd rather you just think like she's she's having a hard time in prep than to me being a brat when it's not your fault, you know? Um,
I'm cool. I'm not bothered. I'm like, yeah, girl. I can be quiet. That's no problem.
yeah. So like you just have to find how you personally navigate that. Luckily in our house, Martin and I both get quiet. So like if I'm chatting his ear off and he's giving me short answers, I'm like, got it. In the same way. Like I'll mumble or I'll like, yeah, no, I don't know. And that's the answer. Like don't ask for an in-depth explanation because I'm not gonna give it. Or my brain can't even create it. Um, which is important to take into consideration. Like don't have your show the same time as finals. You can start easing into prep towards finals, sure, but you can't be trying like brain fog comes along with it. So big, important, mentally demanding tasks are not ideal when you're about to compete in a show.
And it's hard. It's hard too, like especially like when you're planning and like, okay, I want to prep for this, what I'm gonna do, and then there are times when big life things happen and you got to be an adult, and it's like, okay, fine, fine. But I also know I have learned the hard way that trying to prep when you have big life stuff going on, it's not ideal because you're not gonna get anywhere. That's just me speaking from my own personal experiences. But a quick little checklist for you to kind of run through if you're ready or not. What's your training history? You know, how many months, years have you been training? Can you hit your protein daily? Can you track without spiraling? This is a big one. A lot of people struggle with tracking. And I had one client, I never pushed it on her. She's just very basic, like lifestyle, doing working on some counseling things, mindset with her. And she was just so focused on, okay, well, want to lose weight. And she wasn't even obese, not even the case. And so I started saying, all right, cool. Well, let's track calories. Oh, I don't want to track calories. I said, well, then you want to lose weight. Quit playing with me. Like we can't this fairy tale world be, oh well, I don't want to track calories, that's triggering. If tracking calories is triggering for you, then you have to be okay with the fact that this I cannot do, so therefore I'm not going to be able to hit this weight loss goal, so I need to just be content with where I'm at. That's okay, that's okay. But I get so pissed off. We were in this one state, I don't know, maybe like 3 years ago, where if anyone mentioned tracking calories, it was like the worst thing in the world. I was like, get it, leave me alone. I'm gonna cuss you out because this is stupid.
Yeah, like there are periods where even pros will go where like I didn't track this week, it was Christmas or I had vacation or whatever. Um yes, and there are times to implement that, but to to not track and expect a specific outcome is just
Nonsense.
silly. Yeah, it's unrealistic.
That's unrealistic because I have weeks and so especially like if I'm in survival mode, I'm not tracking everything, but at the same time, I'm not expecting a result.
Yeah.
You can't do that. Um, where else? Let's see, tracking. Are you okay not being the leanest the first time? So you will be the leanest you've ever been. However, understand that you're not as lean as you think you are, and you that won't quite clock in until and if you do it again. That's a
Yeah.
tricky one.
Um or I think some people realize it halfway through prep
Mm.
or when their coach says you have X amount to lose and they're like, "Where?" I promise it's there. Like um losing body fat is exciting, especially your first prep because it's like you've a lot of us have never seen that process before. But it's an extreme sport. So, it's likely going to be much more than what you expect. That's why we say you can't have a full comprehension till you do your first prep. Um, and sometimes the sucky parts just overshadow the good parts. And that's okay. Like it's not for everyone. And some people don't know it's not for them until they do it and they realize it. Um,
But the thing about that too, and I don't know, man. I just need to say this. Like, people expect for things to not suck. Guess what? Sometimes you're gonna have sucking moments in marriage, sucking moments in parenting, sucking moments in business, in your work, in your friendships. Like this, like it's unrealistic. I feel like sometimes people could just expect things to be perfect, and that's not life.
yeah, Martin and I were talking about this the other night actually. I think it some of it comes down to what's your life experience and how much just uncomfortableness have you had to sit through
A
or
hundred
like figure
percent.
out how to get out. And some people just haven't had discomfort. Like some
Oh, none.
people like yeah. But I feel like that's those are the people who do the best, especially
Yeah.
out the gate. Um some of us can remind ourselves like I've survived way worse than this. Like hunger's not a big deal or like the body aches, it ain't nothing, you know?
Yeah.
And then there's other people who are like, can't even comprehend it and are learning it as they go. Um, and I think it's important, I guess, like to self-reflect. Because if that's
Mhm.
you and you've had a pretty decent life and your upbringing was great and your household's going well, like this might be the hardest thing you've ever done. And then you have to remind yourself when you are in the gutter
Because you will be.
trying to decide whether you want to keep doing this, do you want to? Do you want to see if you can push past this limit? Because you probably can. But whether you will or not is ultimately up to you. It's like people say it's an individual sport, and we combat that because it's like if you lose all the things around you or you let relationships fall too low, it's not a very fun time. So like the people around you are very important, but the decisions come from you. You're the only one who can make them. So if you get to show and you're not lean enough, but you also snacked or didn't do your cardio or didn't follow your meal plan completely, measuring everything, that's on you. It's not on your coach. Um, and we love to blame coaches. Everyone in the industry loves to blame their coach, and I would argue that that's rarely ever the case. Sometimes it is. Sometimes they screw the peak up. Sometimes they tell you to get on stage before you're ready to get on stage, but a lot of times it comes down to the athlete and self accountability. You don't have to project it to the world, but you need to know inside your head, did you do this or did you make no decisions and someone just made you into the situation? And that's not ever the case.
All right, well, that's it, you guys. Alexis's schedule is tight right now because she's obviously very, very close to show. I am booking for Girl Power and Charlotte Pro, and then we will be releasing officially our pose, suits, and glam seminar details very soon. We're excited. It's going to be in Orlando the day after Girl Power, so don't go home. All right. Thanks, y'all, for listening. We'll chat in the next one. Jesus. Bye.
Bye, guys.